So we got some more information coming from the guidebook again, and this time on Beelzebub. And just in case you don't know, I will leave a link in the description and the comment section to my previous video where I went over everything we learned about Apollo, in case you're interested in that. But before I get into everything we're going to be talking about, I just want to make a huge disclaimer here that apparently not all of this information is 100% accurate. Because for the most part, when it comes to accurate and trustworthy information on Record of Ragnarok news, there's usually only two people that I personally go to pretty much legit check just to be sure if it's authentic info, right? But all of this that we're supposedly getting from the guidebook is coming from an outside source who I personally don't know. So in that case, I just want to make it clear before we get into this that there is a possible chance not everything that we're getting to here is true or even in the actual guidebook. And unfortunately, this goes for my Apollo video as well, so I'm sorry guys if it turns out all of this is just someone baiting us, you know, for attention or whatever. I should have made that clear in the Apollo video, but at the very least, I think this is still fun just for the sake of discussion. So again, just want to get that out of the way before we get into what could be Beelzebub's backstory here. So yeah, let's just get into it. So the first bit says, Beelzebub is the most powerful assassin of the gods. He is a god who always seeks to create various ways to assassinate various targets, as well as create weapons to achieve this end, i.e. Hajin. So this is really interesting because it makes me wonder now, who would be best to fight him? I mean, if we're talking someone good enough to match him in assassin-like abilities, so like stealth or agility for example, I think the first one who comes to mind would be Okita. Because if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure the Shinsengumi was really infamous as Japan's #1 assassination group during its time, so who knows? I mean, there's no way to tell just how Ragnarok is gonna cover Okita's backstory anyway, right? But if they want to do the whole cold-blooded assassin approach with him, I can totally see him taking on Beelzebub then. Especially because there's a good chance we might be seeing either of them going into round 7, but I gotta be honest, I haven't really considered the idea of Okita versus Beelzebub until now. I don't know, I just always thought it'd be Okita versus Loki. But regardless, I'm also really curious as to who these targets are specifically that Beelzebub seems to target and what's the motive behind it. Alright, the next part says, he knows absolutely all the techniques of gods and demons and has ways to deal with them. This is why he has had no problems in eliminating targets by order or by interest, and is considered someone very powerful. So as an assassin, it makes sense he'd be privy to techniques of other gods, but we're also learning that he apparently works under orders too, not just only by his own will. So I wonder who else would he be working with, you know? Maybe other gods who also come from his pantheon, right? Because I'm pretty sure he's a Canaan or a Philistine god. Hopefully the manga makes it clear whenever we get to him. Alright, next says he has no respect for Hades or the other gods, as this god has gone to Earth many times and has generated his own punishments in mortals as in other races, being a psychopath with no regrets for killing. So this seems to suggest a possible history between Hades and Beelzebub, but we're also learning he's already handed out his own punishments on humanity before. Also not just on humanity, but apparently anyone. He's just a psycho murderer, it sounds like. Corruption is the fun of this god because absolutely nothing hates more than seeing beings despair and lose their temper. He's had clashes with several opponents in his life, not exactly mentioned who he's faced, but they all died terrible and served part of his experiments. So he's probably the most corrupt god on this roster. I'm sure we're gonna see several examples of this in his backstory whenever the manga gets to it. He is represented by flies, a putrid being that is what remains after he does his jobs, and also in the rituals that the humans he knew of represented him. He just sees humanity as subjects to experiment on. He uses demons as subjects of support in murder and collecting missions. Several pay tribute to him as the most powerful demon of all, as he looks more like one than a god. So I guess he's only technically a god, but overall he's also known as the demon, even working alongside with some. And it also looks like he cares more for demons supporting him instead of humanity. So after all this, I have to admit, I hope there's at least something redeemable to him, right? I mean, all this information sounds pretty bare bones because, I mean, I really doubt the guidebook is just gonna outright tell us his entire backstory, but I'm hoping we eventually learn a lot of his history with other gods and why he ended up being an assassin. Alright guys, I'm gonna end it there. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, if you're interested in my Apollo video, I'll leave a link down in the description and in the comments if you want to check that out. And again, don't be surprised if not everything I talked about here ends up being false. If anything, everything I talked about here is just for the sake of discussion. So please let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe for more Record of Ragnarok content. That'd be awesome. Again, thank you so much for watching guys. Have a great day.